Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Phil Gavin. I am with the Niagara Regional Police, and welcome to our very first TikTok Live. We are here at the Niagara Regional Police headquarters in Niagara Falls, out on our patio, and we today are going to be talking about recruiting. With me today is Constable Nicole Abbott. Nicole, maybe talk a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Of course, Phil had to pick a nice hot day that I wore a sweater to work, so I'm thankful for that, Phil.
You're welcome.
However, it is air conditioned inside, so I get a little chilly inside. My name is Constable Nicole Abbott. I am a member of our recruiting unit. I've been in recruiting since 2016. I, however, am a 25-year member of the Niagara Regional Police and started my career in the lovely city of Welland. And I am from St. Catharines originally, though. And from there, worked throughout the region, and I wonderfully landed a spot in recruiting in 2016, and I've been there since. So that's sort of me in a little bit of a nutshell.
Awesome, thank you. So here's kind of what we were thinking of doing today. We are going to do future events where we're going to take all the types of different questions, but because we have Nicole here today, we really want to take advantage of that, and we know that there's lots of people who have questions about how to become a police officer, that process. So we're going to really try and stick to those questions and kind of cater to them. We have had some questions come in advance, so I've got those written down here, and we're going to chat with Nicole about those. But if you have questions, Emily is behind the camera. If from time to time she's going to shout those questions out for us. So go ahead, post those, and we're going to try and get to those questions as they come. But yeah, let's get into it. You don't want to hear me talk. You want to get information about how to become a police officer. So Nicole, I know this is a topic you can probably spend 2 hours on, but what are some of the basic requirements to become a police officer in the province of Ontario?
Okay, so for those of you who know me, you know that I could probably spend about actually 4 hours talking. I don't have a quiet bone in my body, but to answer your question, Phil, there's a few minimum qualifications that you need to have in the province of Ontario to be a police officer, one of which you need to be 18 years of age or older. You need to have a secondary school diploma or an equivalent, so a GED, for instance. If you are coming from another country and you need to have something comparable, and it needs to be translated into English so we understand what we're looking at, what the certificate is and what the marks were. You need to be, of course, legally eligible to work in Canada, either as a permanent resident status or Canadian citizen. Physically and mentally able to perform the duties of a police officer. Be, of course, good moral character and habits, and you also need to have a minimum of a G-class driver's license. We do drive cars around, so you have to have the G-class. You can't have a G2. You have to make sure you're already able to drive a vehicle. So those are the minimum qualifications to be a police officer. In saying that, though, generally, most of our applicants are usually around the 21-year age or older. They seem to be the most successful with the interviews. They've got a little bit more education, experience through jobs, so it resonates into our interviews. So just keep that in mind. We're not saying that you can't apply. We're just saying most people are more able to get through our interviews if they are just a little bit older and have a little bit more experience under their belt.
Yeah, and I think you just touched on it, but talk about, if you could, the value of a little bit of life experience.
I mean, life experience is great, in any regard, in any job. In policing, our whole job is to just talk to people, right? So when you bring your own experiences, that allows you to maybe connect with the person that you're talking to, and that sometimes will help the situation calm, maybe resolve itself, especially if the person has some sort of connection with the person.
Absolutely.
So for instance, if I maybe am working in St. Catharines, I may ask the person where they went to high school, and maybe we have a connection that we both went to Sir Winston together, and so then we start talking about that, and maybe that helps the totality of the situation that's happening already and why they called the police.
For sure. So I think life experience, we've talked about it in the past, where having experienced those different things and you bring those to the table in your toolbox of life, I think there's certainly some value.
Yeah, and I mean, don't just think that you have to go out and get something that's related to policing for experience. Experience comes from your whole life. So different jobs offer different skill sets, right? So you may work at Avondale, and from there you're going to have customer service. So there's lots of different jobs. Before I was a police officer, I worked at Avondale in high school. I went
Shout
on
out to Avondale.
Yeah, Avondale. I went on to college at Algonquin College, and then I went to McMaster University. While I was going to school, I was a Domino's pizza driver. Yeah, I was also worked in a steel factory. So all those different jobs, I actually worked at the Bay as well during that whole time frame. So all those different jobs gave me the ability to draw from experiences, some with other people, some with dealing with coworkers. I was the only female in an all-male environment working in a steel factory. So, you know, all those types of things come into play that can help you. So don't just think you have to be involved as a security guard or something very relevant to policing. That's not the case.
And I think that actually, your statement there actually really dovetails on a question I know as a police officer that I get often. People ask, well, should I take police foundations? I got to take police foundations.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with police foundations.
Absolutely not, yeah.
But it absolutely sounds like diversity is a great thing when it comes to your history, your life history.
Yeah, I mean, I did take what we used to call law and security at Algonquin College. That's now parlayed into what we now know as the Police Foundations program. It's a great program. I will never say anything bad about it, A, because I also went to it. But I think it gives you an element of maybe understanding the job before you get here. But in saying that, your diploma or degree does not have to be from that element.
For sure.
When I went to McMaster, I studied religious studies. So I studied the societal aspect of it, not the theological. So that gave me an understanding of different religions that maybe I would encounter as a police officer.
Well, that makes sense.
But in saying that, we draw from candidates from all kinds of different experiences through education and work. We just hired a pilot. We have teachers. We have, you know what, you name it. They come from all walks of life. So don't just think you have to have some sort of education that's pertaining only to policing.
Okay. So if you had to rough ballpark it, and I know it's going to be it's going to be different with everybody, but if I said I want to be a police officer and I come in today, what is kind of the timeline from wanting to be a police officer to final salute at, like, I know I threw a bit of a curveball. We hadn't talked about this question, but if you had to put a time, like,
Okay.
is it a 2 month, 6 month, like?
So, I mean, from when you start to want to possibly be one, could be a little longer,
Sure, yeah.
depending on where someone is in their life, right? If I'm in high school, it's going to take me a little longer.
Sure.
Primarily speaking, I would say you're sitting there today and you're like, you know what? I just saw Nicole on TikTok and she was absolutely amazing, because let's face it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And you decide right now, I would say it's probably going to take you almost a year to, you know, get your resume ready, get all the documents you need prepared, go through the pre-testing. So there is a pre-testing site that you have to do prior to applying to the Niagara Regional Police. It's through the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. So you have to obtain a certificate prior to applying, which we call if you Google www.oacpcertificate.ca, that will bring you to the site. So you have to complete that. There is a monetary amount that you need to pay to do that testing. It's $250. And then you also have your hearing and your vision tested by a professional. So once you collect all of those items, then you can apply to the Niagara Regional Police. So once you get into our process, I would say it takes anywhere from about 3 to 6 months to properly run through the Niagara Regional Police process, through all the interview stages, and then our background investigation, and possibly getting hired. So.
Okay. Now, when I went to, so I'm in my 23rd year, so it may have changed, but when I went to the Ontario Police College, it was 13 weeks. And what's the police college timeline
They've
now?
totally changed it since you were there. No, they haven't. I'm just kidding. So OPC is still 13 weeks. They adjusted it slightly for COVID due to shutdowns, etc. But primarily it's on a 13-week rotation. There are 3 OPC classes per year. One is in May, one is in September, and one is in January. So the Niagara Regional Police doesn't hire specifically for a class. We seem to always be hiring, so we just continually roll our files. So don't think, oh, what's the perfect time to apply because I want to be in the September class. If you're ready and you have everything going, then it's time to apply. Okay, don't worry about the classes per se at OPC. OPC's a fun place to go. Sorry, what else did you ask me? I totally just mind blanked.
No, I think just talking about historically, I mean, you don't get to OPC unless you've been hired.
Right.
It's not like a community college where you
Right.
kind of buy your way in.
Yes.
But I think, from my experience over the years, there's a lot of people, it's a bit of a mystery for a lot of people as well.
Oh, okay.
As to,
Ooh, the mystery.
like what happens there, how long you're there, can you go home in the evenings, like you're sleeping there for eating cafeteria food. So I think probably just touching on some of that.
Okay, so if you are hired by the Niagara Regional Police in Ontario, you get hired first prior to attending the Ontario Police College. In other provinces, it's different, especially in the Atlantic provinces. You go to the Atlantic Police College first, and then you apply from there. So there are some slight differences depending on where you are in Canada. But in Ontario, you get hired first by a police service. You attend the OPC. It's a wonderful place in the middle of a farmer's field in Elmer, Ontario. Not really, but we're all happy to go when we get hired. So
it's a great
what can I
experience
say?
to grow.
It's a fantastic experience because you're going there with all other police officers, usually around your age. You're all like-minded. You're kind of doing the same thing. You're excited to be hired. That's where we teach you to be police officers. So you don't have to have any formal training prior to becoming a police officer. We teach you everything you need to know. So from there, yes, it's a dorm style. However, you live in a room individually, so we call them pods. So each person gets a room within the pod, and I think there's 10 or 12 people in a pod. There are shared bathrooms, so beware, you don't have a private ensuite. And we all like our private ensuites. It is a semi-military style of school because, we do drill, we're teaching people to work, if they hadn't before, work as a team. You're learning the criminal code and the provincial statutes. There is a physical component, of course. We learn how to drive our police cars, and we call that PVO, and that's probably the funnest class you'll take, the best way to describe it. I have never heard someone who didn't like PVO, which is police vehicle operations. And then, yes, it's cafeteria-style food. The food has improved in 25 years. I will grant you that, because when I went, everything was deep-fried. And we saw a lot of the same meals come back in different variations.
Calories
yes.
for any exercise.
Yes. It's lovely. They actually have very good food. We joke, but they do have good food. They work very hard at making sure that if you have certain dietary issues, they make sure that that's taken care of. So you do have to pay to go there. We're lucky with the Niagara Regional Police that we give our candidates are now officers an interest-free loan for over a 5-year period to pay. So you don't have to walk into the Niagara Regional Police and say, here's my check, I'm ready to go. It is approximately $14,000. So just know that money, then we pay up front for the cost of OPC, and then you reimburse the Niagara Regional Police over a 5-year period. It just comes off your paycheck.
Okay.
So it's a nice perk.
Well, that's good. That is,
because not everyone does that.
No, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So Emily has said to us that we have a question from the viewers. Emily, can you?
Yep. So user 712 would like to know: is there a minimum age requirement to apply?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, you probably just weren't on yet. So thank you for bringing that up. The minimum age requirement is 18 years of age or older.
So. It's often a topic, and I think it's an important topic, and we'll touch on it now, is diversity in our hiring. Maybe you can touch on, the plan or how we as a service, address diversity in our hiring practices.
I mean, diversity, of course, is important to everyone.
Yep.
We want to represent the community, of course, that we serve in and the people who live in our community. So it is very important to us. The way that the interviewing and testing and policing in general hiring process is created so it's fair for all. So like I said, there's minimum qualifications. We're open to anyone and everyone from any walk of life, culturally, race, anything. It's very important. I think differences actually make the world kind of a better place, right?
Absolutely.
So everyone draws from their experiences, and that, again, like I spoke earlier when we were talking about, you want to identify, maybe there's something that person identifies with, and that's definitely where we see it come into play. When the guys are on the road and you've got a similar experience, maybe the person that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's of utmost importance. We want to make sure that the process for getting hired is fair for all. we want the best candidates and the best quality of candidates. So in that regard, we want you to be the best candidate you can be. Diversity in regards to things that we do, we run a Women in Policing event multiple times through the year. That stemmed originally from it wasn't the lack of it was the lack of actual females applying to the police service.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that started. And we used the program that we've designed to attract women into policing, because this is it was always a male dominated employer.
Yeah,
so when I started, there wasn't many women in policing, and it's grown exponentially since over the last 25 years. So we first designed this Women in Policing to get female applicants, get them in the door and see that, I can do this. This is something, this is a good, viable career opportunity that I can do. I'm speaking from my own experience. Not that my parents ever told me not to, but there was definitely that factor of, really, you want to be a police officer? For that reason, because it was male dominated. So we also have now adapted that program to open it up to other cultures and races, because we want to include everyone. So we are not running any right this second because it's summer, and it's a little hard to get the people out, but we will be starting to run them again in September. And because of COVID, we had some issues. We just did it on Zoom. So we hope to be back in person in the fall. So just keep an eye on our website for the events that will be coming. We do post them on our website, and also through all our social media. So please make sure you keep watching for them. There's going to be lots of events coming up, because we've been in a cocoon state for almost 2 years, and we like talking to people, so we want to be out and talking to them.
And I think it's having those nights, information sessions, I think is great.
Yeah.
Because people come to policing with, like you said, different aspects, and maybe their background has special questions to them.
Yes,
and
100%.
Creating an environment where they feel comfortable to ask those questions, I think, is important and valuable. So that's good. So one of the things that we...
I'm sorry, I thought Emily was waving.
Do you have a question? I'm sorry. Emily has a question. Awesome. Emily.
Okay. User 312 would like to know, during the initial physical testing, is the circuit random, or is there a set order to the test?
Okay, so that was a very good question. Wow.
So the question, if you didn't hear Emily, was about the physical testing. Is there a set order, or is it random? So I think Nicole's probably just going to dive into the physical testing part.
Yep. So I'll just talk a little bit about our fitness test. So prior to this new pre-testing, for those of you who maybe have applied before, there was something called Applicant Testing Services that used to run our fitness component. That is since now gone, and our service is running our own fitness testing. So you have to be aware that if you're applying to us or other services, you need to be aware of their fitness, what they're doing to test for fitness. So with the Niagara Regional Police, we do a PIN testing here. So of course it's online. You can look anywhere and find out what that entails. But basically what we do is we have our candidates come in. They will do a sit and reach. I call it the touch your toes. So you sit, they have a mechanism set up that you sit on your bum and you push forward and you see how flexible you are. There is a core endurance section that is all done in the same time. So that's testing. It's 3 minutes of your core endurance, so comparable to doing a plank for 3 minutes. And then there's also a push-up component. So those three are done first, and then we do the shuttle run. Again, the timing is, you can find it on our website. So maybe look that up, because I think there's different timings depending on there's the beat that you run to can be different. So just make sure you go on and check that out. But it's a 20-meter shuttle run. So the shuttle run is done after the first 3 components are done. Okay. So that's just the order we do them in. It's no secret. We hope you do them well. And just remember that, you got, be ready to go. Be trained. Get yourself up and ready before you come for it. The best advice I can tell you is just keep doing the PIN test to train for it. There's no, I'm not a fitness guru, and I'm not, I didn't go to school for physical education, so I'm not going to tell you how to train, but the words of advice that I've been told by others is just keep doing the pin test, and that will make you better at it.
We've got another question here. What would you say to an applicant with a history of driving infractions? Is it a disqualifier?
Okay. These are good questions.
This is a great question, and just for those who didn't hear it, the question is basically, what would you say to an applicant who has maybe a poor driving history, and could that be a disqualifier?
Is a base by base situation. So that's a very broad question, but I'll just break it down a little bit. If you have some driving infractions, I mean, no one's perfect. We all have had them. It's
human error.
It happens.
Good people make bad decisions.
That's right. Just admit to them. If you have issues with having suspensions on your driver's license, that could be a disqualifier. If you have, I'd say, multiple 10, 20, sometimes I've seen 30 driving infractions all within a few year period, that could probably be a disqualifier. So sometimes just time is a factor, and that, you know, like if you have the ability to have some time in between, of course that can maybe benefit you. So I can't give you a definite. I apologize. I would love to say if you have this many, this is what's going to happen. It's a base by base situation, but generally, you know what, everyone has one or two. It happens. I've seen I've seriously seen up to 30, so that's why that one comes into play that I think about. So you know what, it's just one of those, you have to kind of make the application, and we can talk about it then, right?
Yeah, 15 tickets 20 years ago is different than 15 tickets last month, right?
Right.
That's certainly,
yes,
growth and change
yes,
can happen in a person
exactly
over that time.
Yeah, what I did when I was 16, I probably wouldn't do when I'm 30, right? Because let's face it, we all did stupid things. There was just no Facebook to prove it. So
Fair enough. Yes. We've got another question.
Are you able to provide any updates on any future auxiliary classes?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So auxiliary is a huge component with the Niagara Regional Police. We had to stop everything with COVID, unfortunately. We are just waiting to hear from our senior managers of when the program will get up and get going again. We're ready to start getting the applications in, and we're going to need auxiliary officers 100%. So just keep watch on the website. We're hoping that we will start see that happening in the fall, but I guess it depends on if we shut down again or don't shut down.
How the world moves forward.
Yeah, so it's going to happen again. I just don't know when, unfortunately. Normally, this is the time of year where we start to see, we put them out on our website for asking for candidates for auxiliary. We haven't gotten word yet, so I unfortunately can't give you an answer on that, but just keep an eye out, because as soon as we get one, you'll know. It'll be on there.
She'll know, then I'll help tell you.
Yeah.
I guess I'm maybe on the heels of the auxiliary question. How many, as a recruiter, how often do you see people graduating, for lack of a better term, from our auxiliary program into full-time sworn officers? Is that very often a stepping stone for many?
Yeah, it's a very good stepping stone for many. Okay, so definitely something to think about. If you're looking for volunteerism, it's definitely one way that you can volunteer. So in speaking to that, we do want to see volunteerism very quickly, but it can be from anywhere. So I always say volunteerism is good volunteerism, doesn't matter where it is. The best advice I can give you, though, is do some volunteerism that involves talking to people. If you're hidden away, our job is to talk to people. So find some volunteerism that you're involving people, you're mentoring, you're a leader, okay? In saying that, auxiliary does do that. Yeah. It augments our officers. We usually hire around the January stage, and then they get into training. And our training is actually a very, very, what's the word I'm looking
robust.
For? Okay,
fulsome.
Very nice, robust.
Big words.
Very
big words coming out at the
nice,
end here.
Robust. Thank
I've been
you,
saving
Phil.
these for the last
Phil's
20 minutes.
saving his words from his dictionary this morning. It's a very involved training that our auxiliaries get. Yeah. So it does help a person when they eventually maybe do get hired. And yes, a lot of people do auxiliary to help them maybe even just figure out if this is the right career for them
Yeah.
as well. I mean, some people do it just because they want to give back and they don't want to be a police officer,
Sure.
and that's fine. But we actually do hire quite a bit from the auxiliary programs with any police service. They're good programs.
Yeah. So I guess as we wind down here, I just wanted to, and I know it's competitive, the market. Why Niagara? Why should?
Why not? Are you kidding me? Look at. Okay, where do I start?
We're done. I mean,
Okay.
Emily's giving us the 5.
So, I mean, the best, what we usually say is, of course, Niagara's a beautiful place to live, right? We still have that urban and the rural setting that you have in Niagara. You could work in both, rural and urban, live in both. We are like right at the U.S. border. And for those of you who don't live in this area, we like it because we enjoy going to the States for pizza and wings and
There's some
shopping
perks,
and gas and all
absolutely.
those other things. I mean, we're close to the Buffalo Airport. We're an hour from Toronto. We're an hour from downtown Toronto. But you don't have to live there.
Yeah.
So that's like a bonus. Nothing against Toronto.
Nothing against
Love Toronto.
Toronto's awesome.
So that's a great bonus. We have Go Service. You know what? This is the wine and soft fruit area other than the Okanagan and BC, but let's face it, it's too expensive to fly to BC. So, you know what? You can come here. You've got these beautiful settings of vineyards and orchards. The cost of living, your house pricing is still much lower than what we're seeing in the GTA area, of course. It's commutable, right? So if your spouse maybe works downtown Toronto, you could work here and still commute. You know what? It is a lovely place to live. We have an excellent police service. We have strong backing from our police services board. It's a good place. Good equipment.
I think one of the things over my career and that I've talked to different people is we are one of the big 12 police services in the province, and depending on what you want to do here, there is a lot of opportunities to try different things. I think in my career I've worked in a number of different areas. But if you want to go to a small town, a smaller police service, and you want to be in a cruiser for your career, that's great. Nothing you can do that here. But if you want to try different things, dive, marine, canine, different investigative units, we have that, which is I think not everybody does.
I mean, we always call it the career within a career. So
absolutely.
You can come here, work for 30 plus years, and never actually have to change your employer. Never have to worry about, I'm not going to have a paycheck for a month until I get another job or whatever the case may be. But you can still have that variety of working in child abuse, working back on the road, and then you decide to go to forensics, and then maybe go back on the road somewhere else, because every town you work in is different as well. So maybe you'll end up in recruiting or in media, just like Phil.
Yes. So as we're winding down, the recruiting section on our website, www.niagarapolice.ca, go to the recruiting section. It's one of our hot buttons, or you can navigate to it.
Yeah, we're hot buttons.
They're hot buttons. There is a ton of information on there. The process, links to all sorts of valuable information. The website is always a huge asset when it comes to applying.
Very much.
Also, I know our recruiting unit is very active on social media, Twitter, Facebook,
Instagram.
And there's also an email account in there as well. So if you have questions and you want to send it directly to the recruiting unit, I think it's go on the website. I don't want to take a shot at it.
I might even have it here because I never email myself, so maybe I didn't bring it.
But if you have those questions about specific things, do reach out, send the email, go on that website, and look for yourselves. So
you know what? Come check us out. I think you'd be surprised what you're going to see and what we have to offer.
Absolutely. So keep an eye out for information sessions as they come up. We certainly do push those out on our social media. If you have any questions, reach out to the recruiting unit. Nicole, thank you for being a part of our first TikTok Live. The world didn't end. The sign didn't fall down on Nicole, which we absolutely predicted was going to happen. And it's been good. We haven't sweat too bad.
Their budget was a little low, though. They didn't give me a hair appointment.
Sorry.
Well, not much you can do.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you.